want to live with passion, and I know that you want to live with passion. And so what it happens here is it boils down to our lifestyle choices, and our lifestyle choices are a matter of our spirits. How many here today would absolutely just about give anything to reduce their stress 50%? Raise your hand. How many would love to reduce? How about 25%? How about just 10% would be a great relief? Then listen closely, because Jesus does not offer any Band-Aid, quick fix solutions. He offers the complete solution. I feel so strongly about this lesson and about the importance of not only understanding it, but then taking that part where it transforms into lifestyle changes, that I want you to be engaged at every single level, every single part of this lesson. And so to help do that, if you'll notice on your handout, I have copied this passage from Matthew chapter 11 5 different times from my personal 5 favorite translations. And each time we come to one, we're going to stop right there and we're going to read together this invitation from Christ to cease and distress, so that hopefully one of the versions or bits and pieces of all of them will sink in and you'll be able to take something with you. We're going to start off with the most literal translation in the NIV. Just follow along with me. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened. Okay, let me start again. We're going to read this together. Read this together. In yellow, did I not say that? Did I not say read together? No, I said follow along with me, did I not? Yeah, okay. Follow along with me. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Thank you very much. It's very simple, very straightforward today. It lays itself out right in the text. How am I going to reduce my stress? How am I going to maybe eliminate my stress and regain my passion? It starts with coming to Christ. It always starts with coming to Christ. It's an interesting thing if you'll ever take the time to read through Matthew, and then at some point to read through Mark, and then read through Luke, and read through John, the 4 accounts of Jesus' walk on earth, and find out and look at all the different times and the different places and the different reasons for which people came to Jesus in the first place. Sometimes people came to him because typically they came to him because they had a problem. A man's daughter is sick. A woman is bleeding. A man's son has a demon that has nearly killed him. A man of position and authority has a servant that's about to die. Sometimes people came to Jesus because they had a question about some matter of law or about something else that he has said. Sometimes people came to Jesus because they wanted to trap him, to get him into trouble, so that they could have a reason to charge him. Some people came to see Jesus out of curiosity. Some people came to Jesus out of desperation. But what's interesting to me is that no matter who they were, whether they were the most sincere, just searching for the truth kind of people in the world, or they were the biggest legalistic, most hard-headed religious Pharisee in Jerusalem, no matter who came to him, he never criticized anyone for coming to him, ever. He never questioned why they came to him. Now, he may have dealt with them harshly once they got there and said something, but he always let people, from children to the most well-known religious scholar, come to him at any time, because I believe he didn't really care why they came to him as much as he cared about the fact that they came. And I think if we're honest, back to this text, then we typically don't think about coming to Jesus for rest. I think we think about coming to Jesus for salvation. I think we think about coming to Jesus for forgiveness, or coming to Jesus so that we can find our life's purpose, or coming to Jesus so we can read what he does and how he lives and what he says so we can mimic him. But I don't think we typically think about coming to him for rest. Now, does he provide all those other things? Yes, salvation and forgiveness and giving our life's purpose, yes. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and make a statement. I believe that coming to him for rest is amongst the most important things we can do, and here's why. When am I at my best? When are you at your best? Are you at your best when you're well rested and at peace, or are you at your best when you are completely worn out and fatigued? Are you at your best when you're completely loaded down with burdens and your to-do list and all these other things, or are you at your best when you're freed up and feel light, like you could do anything? Well, the answer is obvious. And so I come back to my first statement. Which to people burdened down with sin and burdened down with guilt and burdened down with who they are in life? A person who's just like them but calls himself a Christian, or a person that's just like them who, when they do get burdened down, are able to somehow free themselves from that heavy load? You're at your best, obviously, when you're freed up. So coming to Jesus for rest, this is not a matter of, is that as important as coming for forgiveness? That's not the question. Coming to Him for rest puts us at peace so that we can be who we need to be in Him. And I think that's why coming to Jesus has to be a daily routine. Not just once in your life, DJ. Not just on one Sunday afternoon at this point in time, but every day. Coming back to Him day after day, a daily routine, because daily routines become lifestyle changes, which become matters of the Spirit. What does Jesus mean by rest? What does He mean by that? It's the best kind of rest, I think, because it's talking about soul rest. No, it's not the kind of rest that you get because you do yoga, or because you study transcendental meditation, or because you chant like the monks across the seas. It's a different kind of rest. Let's try it from the Message together. Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. Don't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. That's outstanding. That is an outstanding translation of Matthew 11:28 through 30 from Peterson's The Message. Jesus offers the most comprehensive and the most complete kind of rest. It is rest for the soul. It's much deeper than physical rest. It's a spiritual rest that runs through the emotions. It runs through our mental capacity. See, guys, the problem is not that our muscles are overworked. Even if you work out, the problem with stress is not that your muscles are overworked. The problem with stress is that your mind is overworked. Your emotions, your mental capacity are plagued with anxiety and tension. And it's soul rest that we need. Physical rest is not enough. Now, you've heard me say from this pulpit that the physical rest is important, and it is. Jesus Himself slipped away for R&R frequently. But it's not enough to come home and plop down in the lazy boy and flip on the TV or hop in the pool or the hot tub or pop a Xanax. Those things are not a long-term fix. They may be short-term, but they're not a long-term fix. And these popular ways of obtaining rest, from taking a trip to Tahiti, to hitting the golf course, to hitting the lakes to go fishing, are not going to fix the stress problem of the long term, because they don't address the heart. Those things don't address the heart. They address the body, which needs to be addressed. But the long-term fix has to address the heart. I desperately need spiritual recharging, emotional recharging, and mental recharging. And if I don't get that, I have no place to look other than in the mirror. Because one of the reasons we're so stressed out is that we don't spend enough quiet time with God. It is a tragic thing. I'll go that far. It's a tragic thing that we as a nation, as people, even Christians, have lost the significant power of silence. Or I should say, we have lost our understanding of the significance of silence and quiet. Even when you come in here, and I'm this way, it's like when we're singing and praising, it's like we want it to almost be like a commercial or a good radio program or a good television program that segues from one thing to another with something constantly happening. And yet, I can be blaring away up here and I can be preaching the Word of God, and as soon as I stop, got the attention of everybody in the place. Quiet time is exactly what we need. Jesus says, come to me for rest. And yet, I think when it comes to stress, we go to everything else before we go to Him. We go to a movie. We go to a restaurant. We go to this activity. We go to that activity. We go to the football game. We go to the Bahamas. The problem with that is when you're stressed out and you go someplace to find relief, the problem is you go with you. I go with me. The problem exists not in where I'm standing here, where this is a stressful place, and so I move over here, and now it's not stressful. The problem exists in here, and I go with me. So I take it with me. That's why it's a Band-Aid short-term fix, just to do. Those things are fine. I'm not saying don't go on vacation. I'm not saying don't go to football games. I'm saying if you're trying to get away from stress, you're not going to as long as you go with you until you deal with it at home in the heart. Stress stays with us because it's in our minds, and stress stays in our minds and in our spirits because we don't come to Christ in quiet time. I have gotten away from my morning quiet time. I have quiet time at night. In bed, I like to read it at night, and that's my quiet time. Kelly's quiet time is driving to her job. In the morning is when it's a good time to do it if you can. I used to have just 30 minutes of just reading something from the text, reading something someone has written about the text, but especially reading from the Holy Writ. Just 30 minutes. You would be amazed at how that sets the tempo for your day. Because how many times do we sling our feet out of bed and we're already running behind and we jump in the shower and we brush our teeth and we eat breakfast and out the door and we're going in and all of a sudden here we go again. We're back in the rat race, just 100 miles an hour. And our stress levels just keep going up, going up. We have to have quiet time with God. Not just on Sundays here. Thank you for being here. But not just this time. Not just on Easter. Not just at Christmas. Not just quiet time at funerals or during communion. Personal, quiet time with God every day. You know what? There's really no excuse for that. I don't have an excuse. Well, I'm just too busy. I'm too busy not to have quiet time with God, and so are you. The things that we want to do, we will make time for. Is that right? Is that right? I'm sorry. That pressure you feel right now is me getting off of your toes and back onto mine. How can I reduce my stress and regain my passion? By giving up control. You can set aside 30 minutes a day and you can put your mind to it and do it. Giving up control, this is much tougher. Much tougher. That's a horse of a different color. Or maybe I should say that's a mule of a different stubborn. Giving up control. One huge reason that we are weighted down with all kinds of stress is because I am trying to control too many things in life. Sometimes I act like that the whole dadgum universe would implode on itself if I don't hold it together. Just like the old shirts, the old workout tank tops that we had in high school basketball. The yellow side, the gold side said, if it is to be, and the green side said, it's up to me. If it is to be, it's up to me. If it is to be, it's up to me. Which basically said, as an individual team member, I've got to get in there and do my part. And if I do that and everybody else does that, we're going to be successful. Problem is sometimes we take that so literally. I take it so literally that I think, I got to hold this church together. I got to hold this relationship together. I got to hold this. I'm a control freak. Hello, I'm Randy, and I'm a control freak. Hello, Randy. I have been trying not to control everything in the universe for the last 25 minutes. I have learned a significant lesson in life that I am trying to apply daily. That is, it's not all up to me. How many of you feel like that sometimes? I am trying to apply daily that it is not all up to me. The hardest thing that I am learning to do, the hardest thing that in my family that we are learning to do is give our children over to the Lord. It's hard. And you've got one that's 14 that mesmerizingly beautiful, and you think while you're sitting in the stands, I could absolutely decapitate some young man for mistreating my daughter, and that will eat you up. And I'm saying, God, I got to give it to you. She's a good girl. She knows what she's doing. I got to give her over. I'll protect her. I'll love her. Help her. I got to give her over. I got another one right behind her, same way. I got a son right behind them. Thank God, nothing like his daddy when he was that age. We need one of those cue things up here like it says applause that tells you when you're supposed to say amen, and that was not it. I have to give it up. Let's read it together from the New Living Translation. Then Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke fits perfectly, and the burden I give you is light." You know what? You may find this absolutely incredible, so write this down, because I know it's going to be of news to you, that if I choose to let go, the universe will not fall apart. I have learned and continue to learn that 90+% of the things I'm trying to control in my life, I never had one bit of control over in the first place. I didn't control when I was born, who my parents were, where I lived growing up. I didn't control any of that. I made some choices, but after that, I don't control really anything. So you can see why taking all that stuff in and stressing about it, you're stressing and getting upset and worrying and having anxiety and tension over something you can't control. I think somebody once said, you can't even control whether your hair is black or white, or many or few. That ought to be so good. That's so good it ought to be written down somewhere, right? You can't control anything. And the greater your need, the greater my need to control things, the more stressed we're going to be. And so Jesus says in Matthew 11:29, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me." Okay, so it's time to face the facts. If we're going to give up control, which is hard to do, then we absolutely, positively need a yoke. And since most of us are not farmers, let's talk again about yokes. We've talked about them in the past. And Jesus is not talking about the yolk, which is my favorite part of the egg, where all the cholesterol resides. It's not that kind of yoke. This is a farming implement. It is a wooden frame that joins two farm animals together. And if you're like me, when you hear that definition, the first thing you think is, "Oh, wait a minute, that doesn't sound like stress relief to me. That sounds like more stress. You want to yoke me up with somebody else? How in the world is that going to fix me? I mean, I'm already yoked to a stack of bills. I'm already yoked to a crummy job. I'm already yoked to a troubled marriage. I am already yoked to a broken heart. I don't need any more yokes. Why in the world would I want to take on the one that Jesus gives, especially when you start reading stuff like, "Blessed are the pure in spirit and hungry, and forgive those who talk bad about." I don't need any more yokes. I've got enough. But see, the problem is we don't understand just exactly what it is Jesus is saying and what it is he offers. Because if we did, we would know that the true purpose of a yoke is to make the load lighter. A yoke benefits the animals. Otherwise, you have to harness one animal, and he's got to pull the entire load, either the entire wagon, or he's got to pull the plow, or whatever it is. He's doing it by himself, but you yoke them together, and the burden is cut in half. Not only do you cut the burden in half, but you increase the power of what it is you're trying to do. Get more power and less burden. That is what a yoke does. Funny thing, a clothes dryer, your dryer at home that you dry your clothes in, is actually a pretty light thing. It's really not very heavy at all. I don't know, 40 pounds, Ned, maybe 50 pounds? It's not really heavy. You try and manhandle that thing by yourself sometime. Getting your arms around that big square thing and, getting it, should I get it here? But you get a friend, and you push the thing backwards, and he grabs it here, and you grab it there, and whoop, up the stairs you go. Or out the door, or move it here. It's really quite light, except when you try to manhandle it yourself. Because what happens when you add somebody is the weight is distributed, and your partner takes part of the load, and it becomes a piece of cake. Has the weight of the dryer changed? No. You just redistributed the burden. And it becomes lighter. You see, a yoke is a symbol of partnership. You and I were not created to carry the yoke by ourselves. That's why Jesus says, share it with me. I'll take a part in it. And just in case you didn't know this, Jesus doesn't have any load to bear. All the load of sin he had to bear, he left at Calvary. Thank you very much. It's paid. The only burden that Jesus has to bear is ours in life. And that's why he invites us to take his yoke. He'll share in what it is that we're struggling with. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. Jesus lived and practiced long before Neil Diamond ever crooned that song. For God, it is no big deal to take our burden and share it because he has had lots and lots of practice. Not only is a yoke a symbol of partnership, but a yoke is a symbol of submission and surrender. When you get yoked, then you have to give it up. Let's try it from the New Life version together. Come to me, all of you who work and have heavy loads. I will give you rest. Follow my teachings and learn from me. I am gentle and do not have pride. You will have rest for your souls. For my way of carrying a load is easy, and my load is not heavy. The load is light, but in exchange, we give up the exchange part of it. The load gets lighter, but we have to give up control. And what the deal is it's impossible for us to go in a different direction from Christ when you're yoked to him, because he's going to be the one that steers it. But the other great thing about being yoked to Christ is you don't go off the road. You don't fall in the ditch, which is what we tend to do when we're pulling the plow all by ourselves. Each of us is going to be yoked to something in life. I'm asking you this morning, why not take Jesus's upon you? It's easy and it's light. There will be something, guys, that will steer your life. Something. It'll either be your career. You may be yoked by the expectations of your parents, and here 20 or 50 years later, you're still trying to please them. You may be yoked to the peer pressure of friends at school. You may be yoked to what your co-workers think of you. You may be yoked to pornography or to low self-esteem or to poor choice in friends. But you are going to be yoked to something. And Jesus says, take mine because it's light and it's easy. The word easy actually means fitted and ready for use. That's why Peterson says, I won't give you anything that's ill-fitted, because Jesus' yoke is custom made. You don't get rough spots. You don't get boils and rashes and blisters, because it's a customized yoke. God himself perfectly constructs exactly what it is you need to be yoked to Jesus. So there's no need to get stressed out, because once he puts it on, once you choose to submit to it, then it is light. And we no longer have to live with this heavy, back-breaking burden on our backs every day. The answer to stress is not going on vacation. The answer is giving up control. So how can I reduce my stress and regain my passion? Learning to trust. And this seals the deal. The last time, from the Contemporary English Version. If you are tired from carrying heavy burdens, come to me and I will give you rest. Take the yoke I give you. Put it on your shoulders and learn from me. I am gentle and humble, and you will find rest. This yoke is easy to bear, and the burden is light. Jesus says, learn from me because I'm gentle and I'm humble of heart, and you will find rest for your souls. And if you're thinking, yeah, but I don't have his power, I can't heal like he did, I can't pray like he did, then what you need to understand is that Jesus modeled a life of purpose, and he was able to live with peace rather than pressure and anxiety because he knew what he was doing. And that's what he invites us to do. Look at him, learn from him, and that is learn how to live at peace even though you're complete. You and I have never faced any pressures or anxieties like he did. I don't care how bad it's been, you haven't faced it like he has. I've never been faced with being sinless so that I could die for all of mankind. That one got thrown out the window pretty early on in life. He did. Watch his model. Watch his example. Guys, learning is a process. It takes time. You didn't develop your stressed out posture overnight, and you're not going to learn how to get rid of it overnight. It is a daily routine. It is a lifestyle choice. It's a lifetime journey that begins today. So, how can we learn from Jesus? We start with gentleness and humility. I wish he had said, come to me because I am confident and I can endure, because I have courage and I have strength. But he doesn't. He says, I am gentle and humble, and I'm wondering why it is that those are the important things he chose to say when everything else out there, like courage and endurance and all those things, seem to deal, I would think, would address the stress issue more accurately. And the answer is in the opposite of those definitions. The answer is because we're marked with stress because we are aggressive and we're prideful. We don't like to wait. I don't. Think about all the places you hate to wait. At a train stop when the train's going by in Winfield, or the one out there on 102 or whatever before you get to Jasper. We don't like to wait in line at the grocery store. In fact, we're so bad about not wanting to wait in line at the grocery store, we'll begin to count who's going faster than us in the line that we're in, and then we get mad because we weren't in the right line to start with. If we have to wait 30 or 45 seconds for fast food, we don't like to wait. We are aggressive. And that's a stress inducer. And Jesus says, I'm humble and gentle and laid back. And the other problem is we're arrogant. I am. My pride causes more stress than I want to admit. Pride causes me to think I can control things I can't control and do things that I can't do and have things I can't have. No wonder he starts with gentleness and humility. So what does he want us to do? What does Jesus invite us to do? He invites us to cease in distress. Make that de-stress. The experts are absolutely right. Stress is a lifestyle issue, and combating it requires a change in daily routine. Come to Christ, give up control, and spend the rest of your life learning to trust. I want you to listen now. Don't check out just yet. I want you to listen now to this great version of Psalm 23 from a Japanese author. The Lord is my pace setter, I shall not rush. He makes me stop and rest for quiet intervals. He provides me with images of stillness, which restores my serenity. He leads me in the way of efficiency through calmness of mind. His guidance is peace. Even though I have a great many things to accomplish today, I will not fret, for His presence is here. His timelessness, His all-importance will keep me in balance. He prepares refreshment and renewal in the midst of my activity by anointing my mind with His oils of tranquility. My cup of joyous energy overflows. Surely harmony and effectiveness shall be the fruits of my hours, for I shall walk in the pace of my Lord and dwell in His house forever.